good? Yes? Okay. All right, good evening and welcome to the fifth meeting of the Baltimore County Council Structural Work Group. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us online. This meeting is going to be a discussion on several topics, and that's posted on the website, I believe. So I think we can, my opening remarks is just welcome, and sorry about the Ravens, everybody. But you know, we can't, they had a good season. We can't play the game for them, and it was sad. And well, Jeff's wearing his purple too, so. So everybody get a chance to look at the meeting minutes that was sent out by staff. If there's no objection, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Oh, a quick note to everyone, turn on your mics. And when you do talk, please try and speak into them.
And you want them left on the whole meeting?
Yeah. Yeah. They're not super sensitive, so they won't get a lot of feedback.
I had a motion to accept, right? Yes?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That vote was for the 11th and the 22nd, right? Do that, or we do the 22nd separate? Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was for January 11th. For the 22nd, any questions on those minutes? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Move. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, so staff sent out dates for our public hearing dates and locations. Hopefully everybody got a chance to see those. You guys want to take a couple minutes to talk about those?
So Brad and I worked to get a couple of different options for locations and dates. Essentially, we found that the public libraries were kind of our best bet. We did look specifically at the Woodlawn Senior Center and the Perry Hall Library. But in particular, the Perry Hall Library, they did not have any openings until the 28th. We thought that was a little too far outside of our time frame. So then we started looking at alternative sites that were in the area. So we went with the White Marsh Public Library and Woodlawn Public Library. Pretty close to where we had said. Thursday, March 14th for White Marsh, and Wednesday, March 20th at Woodlawn. That keeps them a week apart, so it's not too stressful for anybody if you want to attend both. And they're at the same time, 6 to 8 p.m. And as I think we've kind of talked before, we have to stick to that time, otherwise the library staff will start hitting us with broomsticks, metaphorically speaking.
Oh, they'll toss you out.
Yeah, they'll toss us out. This is actually a good opportunity to talk about the flyer. Originally, we thought we weren't going to be able to have a flyer at the town halls, but Brad actually worked with the exec's office to make sure that we could. And I drafted something. It's pretty basic, but it's got the pertinent information. Yep, it's on the screen. And just so I could save a little bit of ink, I just printed one example. It basically just has our name, the web page, that we want to hear from the public, and the dates, locations of our two hearings. Oh, and it also has, a thing that says if you can't come to the public hearings, here's the email.
Is there any way you can put a QR code on there so people can scan to go to the website, or is it?
I think it might be a little difficult, partly because of the timing.
Okay.
We need to,
I'm just picturing people, like, it's much easier for them just to scan and go to a website than it is like, oh, let me take this flyer with me kind of thing.
it is. I will definitely say that you're right on that point. The problem is that we need to go to press for this tomorrow morning in order to get it to the first town hall.
Got it.
So unfortunately, I'm not sure I can do that level of change.
No, but I mean, having the flyer is great, so thank you.
Yeah,
So you're saying they will be available?
they will be available. Brad, do you know what table specifically people should look at?
I'm not sure which table specifically, but generally we keep them at the front table. When people check in for the town halls, it should be probably in the front.
Okay. Because I mean, I'll be willing to pass them out at my district. But if y'all gonna have them at a table, because I would just stand at the door and pass them out. But there's no problem.
Yeah, we didn't want to burden you guys with having to attend the town halls and, our meetings, and then in March have all this other stuff. I thought that was a little bit too much to ask of you guys. So
Now, the two locations you have, the meeting rooms capacity is 80, and you think that's enough?
I think so. The assumption is that we're not going to have all of us at each one, that,
Well, I was talking about for the public. I was talking about
oh, for the public?
The
Oh,
capacity is 80 for those rooms. I was thinking,
Yeah.
I was asking, you think 80 is enough, given that there's one for the east side and one for the west side?
In my history of these public meetings with the School Board Nomination Commission, we don't really get that many people, at least in that venue. Now, I mean, we could be surprised and we have a whole bunch of people, but
You do have a typo too on there.
Oh, he was just about to say it too, yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
Yes,
Yes.
we have,
It's not, you got White March.
it is March.
well, this is exactly why I said.
That's why we're here.
there you go.
Excellent. Okay. That will be fixed.
You want spring to come, don't you?
Can't come fast enough. So those are our two public hearings. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So while I'm thinking about it, I do want to once again thank Adam, Brad, and Chris for their help as far as staff. They do a great job. So let's move on to the next item, which is final meeting dates. So, yes,
So we have the meeting set. I guess, to backtrack from the first meeting, when would we would need, say, if you wanted 2 weeks before the meeting, excuse me, our draft report done by February 29th. If you wanted the public to have it 2 weeks ahead of the meeting.
so that would be a question for the staff. I know you all already started working on that draft, right?
Sir.
Okay. So where are we in that process?
I think we can definitely have, if the group wants to see the draft by the 29th, I think we can definitely do that.
I'm thinking the public should have that available so they can read it and digest it and be prepared ahead of time before the hearings.
Well, so that was the reason for my question, is that if staff can have it for us for our next meeting,
Okay,
which would be the 12th, that would be a couple weeks out
Okay.
from the
my
29th.
mistake.
And that way, you guys actually have a chance to talk about the draft before the public does. And if there's changes that Brad and I need to make, we can do that. And that way, there's, you guys get the first crack.
Jeff, is that good?
I just wanted to make sure we're locking in and working our way backwards. That's all.
Okay.
I just want to let everyone know, we also have another councilman in our audience, Councilman Ertel. Just in case anyone, had any burning questions. Yeah,
It's on your brain, isn't it?
yeah, it's, copy and paste is a problem.
All right, so after our 14th and the 20th, so there seems to be two dates, the 25th or the 28th. That would be our next in-person meeting after the public hearings or the public hearings. So I think we need to figure out which date was better for everybody, either March 25th or March 28th.
And this is so we can kind of deliberate on what the public said during those meetings, right? Okay.
Good either.
So the 25th is a Monday and the 28th is a Thursday. I mean, Monday's better for me, but that's me personally.
It is for me too. It's better. I'm available both, but Monday's better.
Yeah, Monday's better for me
25th.
too.
Yeah, Monday is better, because I think I have,
25th.
Okay.
I think I have a conflict on Thursday. That's the 4th Thursday.
I think we have a consensus on the 25th. Right? Sounds like it. Okay. All right, okay. Will that be our last one? That would be, yes. So staff put out an internal survey to gauge where we are as far as a group on the different questions. And I hope everybody had a chance to fill those out. And Adam, you want to talk through some results?
Yeah. Chris? Before I get going on this, I do want to make one housekeeping note. You'll notice we are an 11-member body, but there are 10 respondents. Unfortunately, one of our members has had to step down due to health reasons. Nicole Smoot, Councilman Young's appointee, unfortunately let us know that she does have to officially step down. I've talked to Councilman Young, and he is planning on trying to appoint someone as quick as possible. This week is what he's targeting. Hopefully by Wednesday or Thursday. I will, as soon as he does, I will be emailing the group. That way, you all get a chance to at least, introduce yourselves through email. And of course, I'm going to be, I'll work with them to get them up to speed. But I just wanted to make that note because I think that everyone's vote counts here, and that's actually something that this survey points out. Okay.
You're speaking loudly, clearly, and into the microphone. I'll find out. We did test this today.
Yeah.
People can't hear me talking now because I don't have a microphone. But we did test this today, we recorded and we listened. I'm not quite sure, but there aren't any audio issues in here. So it could be that you're just not speaking loud enough or you're turning your face to the microphone.
Yeah, and
We don't want to get any more complaints about.
yeah, and don't worry about, you can move the mics. They're meant to, the gooseneck part of it is meant to be moved, so you can, swivel it to yourself. And all that. So to go over some of the basics about the results, you had about 3 days between January 23rd and 26th to answer these. It was split into two parts. The first part was meant to get kind of your the top line number of where everyone is, and then the second part was meant to kind of delve into more of the specific issues that we've been dealing with. Again, this was completely anonymous. you guys submitted your answers, and nobody, including Chris, Brad, or myself, could figure out who submitted what. So the first question. First question is the top line question. How many council members should there be? We've got a pretty good spread here. 7 has the most with 4. 9 has 2 votes. 11 has 3, and 13 has 1. And it's worth noting too, just for simplicity's sake, I sorted the respondents by their response to this question. So, you might notice that, respondent A in some of the questions later on, A through D, I should say, also suggested that they wanted 7 council members. So I wanted to just point that out so that you have an organizing principle as to like, this is kind of how I organized. Okay, so we go to question 2. This is really about your views on how you weighed the factor of their employment status. And again, it seems like we're kind of, there's a pretty good spread. The answers ranged all the way from this was the only factor to this didn't make a difference at all, whether they're part-time or full-time. And the answer with the most was that you weighed all factors equally, including employment status. Question 3, similar structure to question 2, except this is about staffing levels. Again, there's quite a spread here, with the largest answer, or most popular answer being, I weighed all factors equally. Then we get to the open-ended, what factors did you consider when answering that top line question? And again, there's quite a spread. There's everything from dividing communities to state, comparing us to the state and how many people state representatives have in their districts. A couple of themes do start to emerge, and that being communities, keeping communities together, and addressing diversity issues, which I think, is representative of where we've been as a group. So that was the 4 questions in part 1. Now we will move to part 2. And like part 1, this is kind of a top line question. Should the council members be full-time, part-time, or does your answer depend on the size of the council? And this is almost completely split down the middle. It's 3 that say part-time, 4 that say full-time, and 3 that say it depends on the council. So that is, I just wanted to flag that as there's a lot of variation there. It seems like there's a lot of different views, so that's a good area for discussion. The next 2 questions are kind of mirrors of each other. I asked you to select which part-time number best fits your opinion and which full-time number fits your opinion. And in terms of part-time, there's a larger spread. So 7 part-time has 3 answers, 9 part-time has 3, 11 part-time has 2, and 13 part-time has 1. There's also 1 in 5 part-time, but I wasn't quite sure how that worked out. Because that person also selected full-time 11 members. So I kind of wondering if that was either a mistake or, maybe just they didn't like the concept of part-time. When you look at full-time, there's a little bit more consensus it seems like 5 respondents did respond, 7 full-time members. And then there's a pretty even spread when you look at 5, 11, and 13 full-time. So the next question is, it's trying to get at staffing levels. So the point of this question is to understand whether you think the council currently does not have enough staff, has enough staff based on the number of council members, has enough staff based on the number of constituent calls, or has too much staff. And I have, the majority, or about half of you said the council is staffed at the right amount, but that if we expand, the staffing budget should go proportionally, which means that the way I think this means you view it is the council is, the staffing is right for the number of council members rather than the volume of calls that we get. But I will say there were 3 people who said, I'm not sure, or my opinion doesn't fit the available options. So it's possible that I was a little too wordy in this question. So the next question is one that I think is, I mean, I wanted to give it a little bit more context, but it's a pretty basic question. If there's an expansion or change, if there's a change at all, when should that take place? And this is actually one area where I think you can see there's a clear majority and minority view. 6 respondents said that the changes should happen at the 2026 election, and 4 said at the 2030 election, with no one saying in 2034. The reason 2034 was on there is because 2034 is the next election after redistricting, or after the 2030 census, I should say. The import of the 2026 and 2030 is that we'd do a mid-cycle redistricting, one with using the 2020 census numbers with some adjustments. The next 3 questions are all open-ended, and I won't try and summarize them very much because these are more catch-alls. So if the council expands, regardless of when or how much, what are your major concerns? And again, just like with the first open-ended, there's a pretty big range here. However, one theme did pop out, and that is redistricting and how that process will play out, how to make sure that it's fair. The next question is there any information you feel you need in order to vote on recommendations? So this is more for Brad and I. Are there any points of research you feel that need more coverage? And there were a few items that I think the group can take a look at, see if there's some agreement on whether we need to look, if you would like Brad and I to delve further into them. And the last question is the true catch-all. Are there any other relevant issues that you feel the work group needs to discuss? And again, there's a pretty big spread here. Some of the questions were, or some of the respondents were, looking at maybe a council president or, some sort of, county election for the chair position. So that's the survey. I tried to keep it short, but hit all the areas that I thought you would be interested in discussing. And that is the point of it, to kickstart your discussion. So I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay, well, that being said, who's got something to say? Yes, Ms. Lewis.
I just have a question. We know approximately how many are in each district now. I'm sorry. I'm having problems with my eyes and I really can't see this. But if we had 9 council members, how many would be in each district? If we had 11 council members, how many would be in each district? And if we had 13, how many would be in each district?
I think it's,
78,000.
I think 9 dips it below 100.
It does, just a little.
78,000 for 11.
How many?
About just below 78,000 for.
If it's 9?
It's 11.
That's 11.
Okay, I need 9. What do you have for 11 though?
Just below 78,000, 77,000 and change.
Okay, that's fine. How
Mine's
many?
about 93-ish, right?
93. And how many for 13?
How many people were we at? We said 850,000.
And 50.
65?
65. Okay. I mean, I just need to, I don't know how many there are now, and I know most people are, I'm not going to worry about that. I feel that that's too much, okay? That's why I wanted to know how much would it come up with this way. Now, when 65 years ago, how many people were in the county then? About 350?
250,000?
350 around 1955, 56.
Around 350? So that would mean when it was set up, it was 50,000 for per district. Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to get an idea, perspective of where, I know where we are and see where we need to go. And given that now we're talking about better communications with technology, even better infrastructure for roads, and, meeting facilities. What does that work out with comparing from where we were to where we want to go?
Yes, sir.
Now, again, not for the purpose of drawing lines, but I do feel there's a need to review some of the charts I've prepared to resolve a question based on the survey that some people have, as well as what I've heard in community. There's some people under the impression that by having more districts, specifically 11 districts, it does not increase the strong probability or possibility that you would have an African-American elected in a second district and what's happening in the other districts. I've even heard some people say that increasing the number of districts would increase the likelihood that the one current predominantly African-American district would go away. So I think we need to spend some time looking at numbers. There are some people who responded on here that they thought 9 was the right number. I would like to see some numbers that they would show that would indicate that there would be a likely increase in terms of a predominantly African-American district in this county by basing it only on 9. Because the challenge of this work group was, a significant part of it was the issue of increasing whether or not there is a need to increase diversity on the council. So I think we do need to take a look at nitty-gritty numbers, even though we're not saying this is how any redistricting would go, but we need to look at what do the numbers produce. Because if to come back and say 7 or 9 council members and you've done nothing for diversity, I think it misses the charge of this work group.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Question, how can we ensure diversity?
You can't. You cannot even ensure that there will be an African-American elected from the 4th district.
But what you do have is increasing probabilities. That is why, in terms of nationally, you have, in terms of redistricting acts, the issue are you working to increase the likelihood of election, or is it working in opposition to the likelihood of election? There's no guarantees, but are you taking steps to increase the likelihood?
Well, the only reason I bring that up is because I listen at, I'm looking at the fact that we had a master plan, and I haven't seen any true action on that master plan yet.
Can I hold that thought? Mr. Clark.
I have a question and a comment. Didn't I read that a second majority minority district was drawn in Baltimore County?
It wasn't drawn, but by the time of the next election, if the demographics continue, it looks like it will be that way. And I think it's going to be, it's between 1 and 2.
Well, I think that second district is actually a plurality minority district, not an African-American district.
Right, and
that's what we have to look at too. The minority, Tom,
I don't want to interject unnecessarily, but when the council originally, I don't know if I have to talk into a microphone.
Sure. Yeah, come on.
I can. When the council originally drew its maps, the 4th district was majority African American, and the 1st district was majority minority. Following the redistricting litigation, the 4th district maintained its majority African American population. The 1st district maintained its majority minority population, and the 2nd district, as you said, created a majority minority and also increased the plurality. I don't know if plurality is the right word, but increased the representation of African American population to, I think, about 42%.
when those districts were drawn, have we had an election since those districts were drawn?
Yes, we had the 2022 election.
And do we know how many minorities ran for office in those majority minority districts?
I think so. I think that's easily ascertainable.
Okay. I mean, I think that's important, you know, I mean, to your question, whether we're going to have people step up and we could make it minority district. That doesn't mean people are going to step forward and run for office. And when we talk about minority districts, again, we're talking about 50, it's over a little over 50%. Baltimore County is now a minority district, but it's African American is only in the 30s. The rest of it is made up of other nationalities, So I guess the question is, how do we make it fair? If what we want to do is for the minorities, how do we make it fair that the other nationalities have an opportunity? I mean, they're not condensed into one district. I mean, you look at the western end, the Liberty Road corridor, the Edmondson Avenue corridor, all the way through, from Edmondson Avenue all the way through the Liberty Road corridor, or even over to Reisterstown Road. It's a minority African American districts, I would assume, when you look at the numbers. But how are we going to make it fair for the other minorities that make up 20% or almost 20% of Baltimore County? I mean, that's a huge question.
I think, I hear it. I think that's beyond our scope. I remember with the redistricting behind the commission that did the redistricting after the 2020 census. I was involved in that process, not because I was part of that work group, but because I requested part of our community be redistricted. And that was one of the things that they were charged with trying to ensure. The other thing was also they wanted to maintain communities, and then you had to maintain the census tracts. That is their mission. I think our mission is to decide how we should look at the county council. One of the things that got my attention as I was going through the questions was back when it was started with 350,000, and you had 7 people, and then you had the county executive, and there was a balance when we talked about what can be done and what can't be done, who had the authority to get it, and that type of thing. And that balance has kind of gotten out of whack. And now the county executive, the way with the structure it is, the county administrator, a lot of the power is with that county executive. And the county council is, as a body, and definitely individually, that balance has gotten kind of out of whack. And my interest and concern is helping to bring things back in balance between the county executive and the county council members. By having more members, it sort of gets that balance back in whack. Right now, people, and this was said throughout the survey, even though I do think about it, but it's not my primary focus, they talked about how inaccessible their county representatives were, how they didn't feel that they were being heard because there was such a large number. Now, back then when it was 50,000 for every person, for every councilman, people knew their voices were heard. Their voices have been sort of lost now. And by increasing the number of council people, there'll be fewer people, and then maybe people's voices will be closer to where it was when it first started, that their voices will be amplified because now they're having more accessibility to their council people. As far as the demographics, our mission is to determine how many. The demographics, that is definitely the charter and the directive of the redistricting commission. But ours is to determine what we should do about this size and how the county council should operate.
So I want, Emily, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, so I mean, I agree with what everybody's been saying. I mean, obviously our charge is the pure size of the council, right? We can't guarantee whether or not if you add 2, 4, 15 council members that you're gonna have minority representation, women representation, et cetera. I agree that it increases the chances, but I definitely think that there's no way we can guarantee that that's gonna happen, right? You just increase the probability by having more council members. But I'm not really sure what you meant, Sheila, when you said that the county executive and the county council powers are out of whack. I'm not sure how that's changed, but I'm not sure just increasing the pure size of the council will like create a power shift, if that makes any sense. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was, I'm not sure quantity always equals quality, right? So just increasing the pure number, I do agree, like from a pure arithmetic standpoint, right? You go from 122,000 residents per district to maybe 70, 80, 100, whatever the case may be, what we recommend. But I still think it's always going to be a certain percentage of constituents that are really going to reach out to their county council members. I'm not sure if you increase the pure number all of a sudden, like if there happened to be an Asian council person, if I'm all of a sudden going to reach out to that council person more than I would have a different council person. So I just kind of wanted to put that into perspective a little bit.
Hold on to your comment for a second. So since it was brought up, and I've held my tongue for several months here, I was one of those people of color who ran for county council. Okay, won my primary, didn't win the general election. Not that I didn't raise money, because well, my opponent happens to be in this room. We raised about the same amount of money, right? He's a D and I'm an R. So there are different variables that go along in a campaign as well. Because I thought we ran a pretty good campaign and we talked all the way through the campaign season, and I thought we were pretty close, and I got smoked. Right? So it's not just about people of color running. It's about having, not only even about having the resources, because I think we had about the same amount of resources. Sometimes it's just about the numbers. It's about partisanship. It's about that, right? So,
Just hit it right there.
I don't know that we can fix that. So I'll just throw that little monkey wrench on the table. Yes, sir, and then we'll go to Vic.
Can one of you read the charge of this work group?
1 second so I can pull it up. All right, this is the text of Resolution 3223. This is a resolution of the Baltimore County Council establishing the Baltimore County Council Structure Review Work Group. Whereas Baltimore County has more than 850,000 residents, the third largest population in Maryland, and whereas Baltimore County's population has grown increasingly diverse, with people of color composing 47% of the county's population in the 2020 census report, and whereas communities of color are underrepresented in elected office when compared solely with the demographic data in the county, and whereas every 4 years, Baltimore County voters have been presented with individuals who have filed and campaigned for election to the county council, which has included minority and non-minority candidates. And whereas the Baltimore County Council is comprised of 7 members, each representing individual council districts with other larger population jurisdictions, such as Prince George's County, being comprised of 11 members, including 2 at-large members, and Montgomery County being comprised of 11 members, including 4 at-large members. And whereas community activists are advocating for the need for more diverse representation and a lower ratio of constituents per council member, including potential council expansion, and whereas the county council seeks to examine this issue and develop a consensus recommendation on whether any changes to the structure of the council are appropriate and serve the goal of improving representation for county residents. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of Baltimore County, Maryland, that the Baltimore County Council Structure Review Work Group is hereby established to conduct research and make recommendations as an advisory body to the council.
Okay.
It goes on to list the membership of the resolution and then states.
Yeah, my point is, at least 4 of the whereases deal with diversity on the council. So when those of you are saying as if, oh, it's just a number, no, that was not the intent of the work group, to ignore the makeup in terms of the racial and ethnic makeup of the council. It is clear with 4 whereases that is one of the things we need to look at. It's not just a simple, well, what's the perfect number? So I just want to make sure everyone understood that point, and that's why I'm saying I'm concerned that in some of the responses in the survey is like some people may have thought, well, that was something that's a nicety, but we really don't need to worry about it. It is essential to the charge of this work group to at least address it. No matter how we settle it, we need to at least address what is a dominant issue in our county.
I have talked about dividing communities that I don't think that that's a great idea. I know what our charge is to decide whether the council is at 7 or do we add 2 or more people. No matter what we decide to do, there will be redistricting. It's just going to happen. And can we trust the redistricting process the way it is now, Keith, to make sure that those districts are what you're saying they should be as far as minority districts? No matter what we do, the redistricting process is entering into this, and we have no control of it. I know that. We can recommend all we want to the council. But at the same time, if the redistricting process is skewed at all, whatever we say, however many people we decide to leave it the same or increase it, we don't have any control over that redistricting part that will create what some of you are saying we need in the county. I don't know how we control that. We can't.
Actually,
I was just going to comment. Ms. Lewis, I respect your opinion, but historically, the county executive was powerful even in the very first term in office. The first county executive was Mike Birmingham. His nickname was Iron Mike. He didn't get that because he was a softy.
And they all followed his model. Right, and that, like I said, giving people more voice, and that the council people can say, this is just not me. I'm hearing more voice because now they have the opportunity to hear it. And I don't know Mr. Birmingham because I was too young back then, but given the smaller districts and smaller numbers of people, he might have did what he wanted, but at least he heard what people wanted.
Jeff?
I think Keith's point is right about minority. The more districts you have, the numbers are going to lean towards creating a more representative council. There are stumbling blocks with that, but over time, probability is going to increase that, excuse me, diversity on the council. And the other thing that I think with additional council members is when there's allocation, when the county executive, who's very strong form, is working with the council as to where allocation of resources go, some communities, even though their district gets kind of their fair share of the pot, a community within that district may not get their fair share of the pot. So if you have more elected officials, that pot has to be spread across all of them, or, for, to get things accomplished. Smaller districts, that pot's going to hit smaller pockets of communities. And I think, we all understand that the redistricting process has a tendency to have some internal play with it. If there's more members that are contributing to how that's getting, I think it'll smooth out. You won't have communities that are separated as much, and the resources then get a little bit more distributed evenly.
Responding to Vicky's question and concern, first of all, I want to point out something earlier. There are, underneath of 11 district scenario, there are going to be also other districts that have more than 40% minority, and that's not just talking about African American, overall minority, so that increases it there. But in terms of the redistricting process, I am in favor for a more open and redistricting process, for more input from people, but it's there at the redistricting process that if you are given a number of districts to fit our county into, in terms of whether it's 7, 9, 11, 13, they're going to have to come up with numbers that fit, but also in order to avoid what would be a lawsuit against the county, that if they don't make an effort to where it's clearly we can show that you do increase the number of African American districts, the question would be for the redistricting group, why didn't you? Because you have the possibility of doing it, so why didn't you do it? That opens the county up to a lawsuit of why didn't it take the actions. So I'm not worried about the redistricting process. That's going to be handled by another group of people. But I want to create the opportunities for improving the number by expanding the number on the council. And we'll leave the hairier details of redistricting to another body. But if we don't create the opportunity, they can't respond. I'll trust that they will do the right thing. We just need to do what we perceive as the right thing.
With all due respect, we saw what happened at the state level with redistricting. Governor Hogan put together an independent group made up of a wide variety of people. They came together with a map. What happened to the map? The legislature threw that map out and put their own map in. So what you're saying is absolutely true. It's going to come down to politics.
Right.
What you said about having more people, but you're putting the cart before the horse, because first off, we have to, if we say we're going to have 11 districts, we have to draw those districts before we can have an election to put those 11 people in place. So that has to come first. So, I mean, it's a huge factor. And I go back to the 7, we have 2 majority minority districts out of 7. That's 30-some%. And we have a 30-some% African-American community. So are we not hitting our numbers right now with 7 districts? I mean, with the diversity part of it? I mean, when you do the math, I know we've got to add the people of color that aren't minorities, you know. But right now, if you're talking about minority districts, we hit the mark when they drew that second majority minority district.
Let me see if I'm understanding. If we determine we need more districts, Mr. Dorsey, are you saying it is our charge to specifically say, for example, we're going to have 13 districts, and 3 of them must be African American majority? Because I don't see how us determining how the council should change can say, and once we say there's 13 districts, 3 of them have to be African American. I mean, we can't do that.
Well, that's beyond our purview.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So what's the only thing that's what I'm saying. It's beyond our purview. That's what the actual redistricting work group would have to determine. But our purview is to determine the structure of the county council.
That's true, but first of all, let me clarify. I have never implied that we should put any definite number in terms of, oh, guarantee this is what's going to happen. Right. I know that's true. Because how can I say that there's not going to be a valid Caucasian person running for the council district in the 4th district? I would never say the people should only vote based on the race of people.
Right.
So I'm never going to say we're talking about guarantees. So that's not what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is creating opportunities. If, in terms of increasing it, in terms of the number of people who can run and the opportunities for being able to get in, and it increases it. And regarding the state, if you recall what happened with the state originally didn't plan to do sub-districts, but they created a 11A for the very purpose of creating and increasing the opportunity of a minority representative. So it's something that does get done in terms of taking action to increase the number of minority representations in a body.
Right, so we're going to determine what number is needed, and the commission that does the redistricting, they're going to determine whether they need one to be African American.
Well, let me ask this question, because this is what I thought I heard, and this is just my perception of what I thought I heard, but I want to make sure I heard this. So, Mr. Dorsey, here's what I thought you said, that if we give people the opportunity, and say we raise it to 11 districts. So the opportunity is twofold. One, opportunity that people will do the right thing, and you hope that you trust that they will do the right thing. But if they don't do the right thing, then that's another lawsuit. Is that?
I'm saying the county has opened itself up to one, because currently there's still an active lawsuit from the previous redistricting, and it was only put on hold, and it was extended, the hold was extended. I don't know whether they're looking to see what this group is doing, but there was still an active suit out there because of the fact that the county did not avail itself of the opportunity. Last time, it was difficult. And to the extent that, some have said that it reduced the percentage of African Americans in the 2 districts below 60%, which increases the possibility that you could have had none. And so that was some of the challenge of what was going on there. But it was an issue that trying to create opportunities for people to run. There are no guarantees, but are you working in that direction?
Is there any question that anybody wanted to have a discussion on in the survey itself?
I have a thought on the full-time, part-time. I mean, from my experience, most council people predominantly work more hours than part-time. It tends to be a full-time job hour-wise. So I don't see a distinction between full-time and part-time other than the amount of salary that's set for a, perceived full-time job. So I don't know if that, I saw from the survey, some of that is factored in what they think, what the panel thinks, how many members there should be. So, I mean, we have a current and an ex-council person that, could certainly weigh in on the number of hours. And I would definitely like to hear that.
Yeah, if I may, this is not a part-time job, but it is also about the person who is elected, how much time and effort they put into that job. When I did the job, I did it as a full-time job. Was I here 5 days a week? No. But I was here when I was supposed to be here for council meetings, for work groups, and the rest of my time was spent in my community, at different community groups, PTAs, schools, whatever. That was how I did it. When I think about making it a full-time job, I think that's opening opportunity, because people will look at it more seriously as a good salary, as this is my job. I don't have to worry about getting another job to compensate. I can put my time and effort into this full-time job that I've been elected to do. That's how I would look at it. Had it been full-time when I ran, that would have been great for me. Had it been full-time then it would not have been great for some of our other council people, but knowing it going in, this is a full-time job. This is what I'm devoting my time to and my career to and my life to. I think that in itself creates opportunity.
We have a current councilman here, Mike Ortel.
I'm Mike Ertel, so I have the 6th district, which, by the way, I think is a majority-minority district, or it's pretty close. It's 30, I think it's 38% or 41%, something like that. As far as full-time, part-time, it really is not a part-time job. I'm of our council people right now, we have a few retirees who I believe get pension money. I personally am an insurance broker, which actually works pretty well because I have flexibility with my time. But I spend a lot of time dealing with council issues. There's just never an end to it. A couple things I'd say here. I don't, as Vicky, as Councilwoman Amon said, it might be more of an attraction to get people to run for office if we paid more. Like currently, I would say some of our retired people you know, if we paid them more money, are they going to do more than they do now? Like, do you suddenly feel like, well, I was only giving it 80%, now I should give it 100%? I work it as it's like my second full-time job. It just doesn't pay as well as my real job, or my day job, as I call it, though I work here during the day sometimes as well. But yeah, it might be something where if we increase the pay, we might attract maybe a younger person who potentially is in management somewhere, and they feel like, you know, I've always wanted to give back to my county, my community, and I could actually do this if it paid more. But again, we don't know if that really would happen or not. It's hard to know.
But I do think it's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes, well, on this topic, if somebody knows, I know that there are parts of the county code that deal with part-time status of the council members. Is there anything in the charter that actually spells it out as being part-time? I can't remember.
No.
So the topic of whether you make the council full-time or part-time can be addressed by the county council at any time by changing the law. We're really getting at something in terms of this work group, that's something that's weightier, whether to change the charter, and then that's something that would have to be put before the citizens. So you can do one and come back later and do the issue of changing the status, because that's one of those issues where you may need to be timing it with what was discussed earlier by Adam in terms of, it's not county law that says you're frozen for your term at that salary. It's actually state law. And so you'd want to time it in a way that for the election, and everyone knowing running for the election, you're running for full-time, and it can be effective for that particular group of people. So that's a separate issue, really, than what we need to address here in terms of this work group, because it can be addressed by the council at any time they want to.
I would say another thing, and this is merely my opinion, as a new council person, I have not had the opportunity to vote on any kind of increase. They actually increased the salary in '22, so I was a beneficiary of a slightly higher salary. But the way they do it, council people don't get any kind of cost of living increase. So where other county employees, including I believe the county exec, gets it, maybe not, but a lot of the executives that are the county administration employees get a cost of living adjustment. We do not. And then we have to vote on, if we want to take a salary increase as a council, we have to vote on it the year right before we run for re-election, which tends to be a problem because people don't necessarily want to say, you know what, we didn't get any 3%, inflation's gone up by, and this is not a boo-hoo, but it's kind of rigged in a situation where we've kept, if you look at other jurisdictions, they make a lot more money on the council than we do here in Baltimore County. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean we won't get quality, but it is tougher if you're going to pay a lower salary, where you're going to have someone who might say, you know what, if they paid a little more, I might be able to give up my, my day job and just be a full-time council person. But like I said, even the way that we have the salary increase, it's tough, and they've literally, they've hesitated to increase the salary because it doesn't look good to the voters that, oh, you just increased your salary, right? And you don't necessarily want to do that before an election where you're just going to, that's going to be a bullet point that maybe someone who runs against you. All he really cared about was that his salary went up by $5,000 or something.
So a quick question. So first thing, Keith, you were saying something about, I think the state mandates it. So I know Adam and Brad were kind enough to send us an email out saying that the only thing that really indicates the part-time status of the council members is their compensation is based on part-time status from the Personnel and Salary Board, right?
No, the retirement system they're defined as a class of employees, and they're defined in terms of in that part-time status.
Got it, thank you. So, but my question for you, Councilman Ortel, is, so if you didn't have your day job, would you have had the luxury to run for council? No, okay.
Couldn't, not on the salary, no.
And then,
Again, it's not, you know, there's a few things, you know, there's benefits, there's, I honestly, before I got into this, I didn't think the car was appropriate. Like, why are we in the car business?
We both campaigned against it.
But honestly, the amount of time you use your car, I mean, I'm running around all the time, and you really do put a lot of miles on a car. And you obviously you could do that in mileage, but it is a nice little perk to have a vehicle. And again, I would have never have really thought that until and again, it's easy when you're looking in to say things like that. And then when you actually, and I'm sure Councilwoman Almond saw some of the, you know, you perceive certain things, then you actually do it and you're, oh, wow.
I'm going to change this.
Wow, that's
Right.
different than that's slightly different than I perceived it.
Yeah, let me think about this.
As a community activist, right?
Right.
and the
Did
only,
that answer your question?
no, you did. And the only other question I was going to ask you is, rather than just adding pure numbers to the council, are there any other additional resources that you think would benefit council members? Like, for example, I know one of the staff members had told us there's like a pool of money per each council member for your staff, right? Like however you want to divide it up, whether it's part-time staff, full-time staff. I mean, do you feel an increase in actually having more salary for either more staff or better skilled staff? Would that aid you as well?
It's a tough question because, you know, I think often as the elected person, you want to be able to, it's not that you can't delegate, but you want to be able to be representative of who your constituents are and their different concerns. And, you know, I have a district where I literally have, and we all have this because they're all huge districts. I'm the mayor of 7 towns, you know. I have Towson. Towson alone is like a city. It's like, you know, and we don't have mayors in Baltimore County.
Right.
And we don't have town managers. I would say the only thing that might be helpful is if the county at some point had some system where they had they had someone that was in charge of, let's say, various towns. So like there was an east, and this might sound ridiculous, but again, someone who had Dundalk, Essex, Middle River, and where we had a bureau chief or something. And I know we have that in DPW, but someone who could actually deal with, I think that's one of the problems that we've had in this county as we've grown. There's a lot of finger pointing when we have an issue because there's no one you know, we would always say in Towson, I was a Towson community person for a long time. There's no one really in charge of Towson. Now, we didn't, at one time, we didn't even have, I'm the first council person to represent Towson from Towson in 21 years, but I also get to represent kind of where I grew up. So it's a great council district for me, but no one, if that makes any sense, no one even, and David Marks, who was our councilman prior, did a really good job, but it's nice to have people from communities. And, you know, if we expand it, that would give us more opportunity to have more people who are from that area representing, you know, communities that are more connected.
Thank you.
Well, that kind of brings up an issue I was pondering because one of the constituents mentioned this before, sort of like in Baltimore City, they have the president of the council. And that, you know, I thought about that issue because right now, when situations happen, where does Zach get his call from? From the 7, from each one of the 7? Or is there one person bringing up a particular issue?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay. Just say we wanted to raise the fees on cars. Just fees on cars. Well, suppose Mr. Crandall say, I don't want to. You say, I don't want to. But Mr. Patuka, who's the chair of the council, sees that it might be a good idea. Will the idea come directly from him to the county executive? Or does, each one of the council members have to input something?
It usually comes from the chair to decide whether to put, I mean, often we might think we don't have the votes, but we'll still consider it. So we'll put it in front of everyone. I don't know if adding a chair is helpful or not, other than the one thing we don't have in Baltimore County is if, we had a county executive who died a few years ago, Kevin Kamenetz, and the council had to appoint someone, and that worked, right?
Well,
And it-
I was chair at the time.
Right.
And I declined because I was running for county executive to take the job.
Well, in all likely, yep, it's probably going to happen the end of this year. So we're going to have to figure out but what we don't have, unlike the city, and I don't know what other jurisdictions have, but in the city, if the mayor died or got convicted of whatever, the city council chair theoretically would become the mayor.
Right.
And that has happened. But so in Baltimore County, we still have kind of this, kind of limbo period where I guess the county
Well, it's not real.
administrative officer would take over.
Right. I mean, it started with Spiro Agnew. I mean, he was the first to step into that role. So it's not really a problem. It's one of those things where, the county executive works closely with the county chair, and that rotates. But he also has relationship with individual council members. And then in terms of the succession, as the councilman points out, temporarily, you have a county executive a county administrative officer who steps in, and that can be temporary. And then in terms of it's up to the council in terms of how quickly to move to putting in a replacement. So it's happened over the life of our county, and that's not been a real problem in terms of that. It's always, though, it's the politics of the moment.
Ms. Lewis, and then
Yeah. Thank you for letting me speak. This has been fun. And guys, by the way, I'm just watching you in the corner. I know I can speak for my colleagues here. We're really proud of everything you're doing here. This is a subject that has, I don't want to say plagued the county for many years, but when we looked at the charter years ago in 1955, they just said there shall be 7. There was no consideration for what was going to happen when the county grew. And it's been batted around for years by different people. And it's really, I'm always, I was on the board of trustees for CCBC before I was a council person. I've been a community person for a long time. And the greatest thing about Baltimore County, our biggest strength, is that we come from a lot of diverse communities, and not only racial, but Hereford, the Hereford zone and the communities along the water and our more, Towson, and we just, Caton's, everywhere. But we do such a great job, and it's so good to see everybody interacting and really asking good questions, and it's just fun watching you guys be part of this. So, and it helps us as a council, because all the things you're deliberating here, we will get the benefit of hearing what you were dealing with.
Thank you.
I had some comments about part-time versus full-time. I know that the council people actually do more than 40 hours. But the fact that the position is part-time allows people to claim their own personal space. Because your constituent can come up to you and say, but I'm paying you a full-time salary and you're not doing a full-time job. It allows them to have their own personal space. It allows those persons who have businesses or professions that they are leading, that they might put part-time as they sit on the council, to maintain that, so that when they leave, they don't have to start from scratch again. And my feelings are that we should be increasing the salaries of the council people, but at the same time, to require that they be full-time, I think it's going to put an expectation in people's minds that, okay, you're supposed to be full-time, but I heard that you're still running this business, or I heard you're still running this business. That's really your right to do that. And I'm thinking to make sure people have the right to preserve that part of their personal space, their personal career, that I'm full-time and I've got to step down and do this full-time. But I do believe that the compensation is not sufficient. And I believe that their salary should be significantly increased, and it should be somehow tied into the COLAs, whichever COLA you want to say is what's going to be the federal COLA, whatever. But I'm not quite convinced, just on that reason, that those people should be able to preserve that to say you have to be full-time, because then I think that constituents are going to have a different expectation about their representatives having a second job or something like that. Where if you're full-time, you, like I said, you know those hours are there. If you are part-time, it's like someone says, why you do that? Because I'm part-time, and that's why I can still do that. Like I said, I really think the compensation is definitely insignificant. It should definitely be, increased a lot.
Well, one thing I would say, thinking about what you're saying too, is there, and this is just devil's advocate, there might be some disincentive if it was truly only a full-time, like you have to do it full-time, because you might have some people who say, I don't necessarily want to give up my, all this thing I've been working for. And I think one of the reasons why they wanted it to be, again, not that it was ever really spelled out, but even our legislature was kind of, farmers came, attorneys, it was people from different walks of life. And the thought process was that everybody, Tony's a reverend, Brad's a teacher, Al's a former military, and I know I'm kind of bastardizing a little bit. Sorry, that's a bad word. But, we all come from different walks of life, and we all have, we bring and even on the council, Julian's a former fire battalion chief. David is a current teacher. I'm an insurance broker. We all kind of bring our little pieces. But you might have also career paths like a nurse who says, you know what, I could be a council person, but I could revolve my hours around, I'll work Saturdays and Sundays more and be able to.
Even maintaining participation in that profession, so that, like I said, once you leave, you don't have to start from scratch again, because you've maintained that profession. And again, perception. When I hired you full-time, don't be telling me you're doing this on my time. And at the same time, like I said, increasing the salary, so it would make it more attractive to people to step up and serve. And I think they're entitled to that. At the same time, once people get the idea that you're full-time, they're going to say, you're mine. And that's the only thing I wouldn't want to take away from the county council people.
So I want to thank Councilman.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Being here, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else with any other questions on the survey?
I think I saw in one place someone thought that said that the council at 7 is the same size as the legislature, but there are 4 representatives from each district in the legislature, so it would actually be 28 if that was the case.
I think I remember hearing, oh, this is for the survey?
Yeah, someone said it in the survey.
I remember someone who called in had said something like that.
Oh, the public hearing you're talking
Yeah,
about.
right. There was someone who said at the public hearing that they really thought, right, it should have been like a real-
30
Yeah,
or
right,
something.
30 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, but,
Yeah, but I don't remember seeing that on the survey. Is that on here, Keith?
Yeah, on page 3, respondent C indicated the council members represent the same number of people that state legislative members represent. Well, that's true in terms of the senators perhaps, but then the delegates, the 3 delegates from each district.
Right. Well, they still represent the full district.
Yeah, are they talking about like 120 some
They're
thousand
not
people?
divided by, that was one of the things that we wanted to do when they did redistricting, was they wanted to make single-member districts. They wanted to make 147 single-member districts. But that wasn't done, and they picked and choose where they wanted to make those single-member districts. And not picking on Mike's district, but 42B was one of them because of the lower part of Towson. And they kept that as a legislative district, and it was politics involved in that. Because if they would have thrown that district into the rest of 42, it would have been an all-Republican district. So there is politics involved in a lot of these different things. They did it Mike Bush did it in Annapolis. He took all the Republicans and put them in one lower-end district, but you still represent, and I did it for 10 years, you still represent 125,000 people. Just because there's 3 of you doesn't mean they're not going to call you versus one or, one, two.
All 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right, the senator still represents the full amount, there's, she represents the full amount, it's 47, and they represent the full amount, there's 47 districts in the state of Maryland, and she represents it's between 125 and 132, so it depends on the district.
So maybe that's what this respondent meant, was like, because the county council represents about 122,000 people, right? So they're thinking like
The senator
state,
represents
yeah,
about the same amount of.
same amount of people,
more
which I'm guessing they're thinking is high then.
but the thing about it is when you talk about constituents, there are things that you would go to your county council person about, because it's local, that it would not be under purview.
That's not true. I got calls on more local things than state things. They don't know the difference. They pick and they will call you. And a lot of times I would call my councilman, or I would just call I called the water department, I can't think of his name for Baltimore County. We would call him a lot because of, we'd get issues for water main breaks and things like that. It's a county issue, but they didn't know, a lot of them don't even know what district they live in, quite honestly.
And I think that's the reason why that person who said that on the call-in talked about the greater numbers, because the districts have become so large that people don't feel, they don't have access to their council people. When it was started, when you had 1 for 50, I feel people had access because it was a smaller number. Now, because it's so large, people don't have access. If the districts were smaller and people became, the council people were more accessible because there are fewer people that they had to represent, maybe they would become educated and they will learn
It
constituents.
could, but I think it goes back to what was said over here was it's quality versus quantity. Sometimes they trust the person that that's representing them, so they'll call that particular person.
And we want them to start calling the right people.
Jill, I got to disagree there a little bit on my end. I have no issue at all with our council people. Artel's office, Todd Crandall's, David Marks. If you're involved with your community, you have there's no problems. Anybody, I've never had an issue with any council people. Kathy Bevins, when she was my council person, I had her cell phone number. I could call her, boom, talk to her. At any time, any council person, I've got Todd Crandall's phone number. Boom, I can call. If you're involved with your community, you're going to get responses. The problem is most people that say that, they don't want to be involved. That's the unfortunate part. Most of our constituents out there in Baltimore County, any place in this country, they want to complain, but when it comes to getting involved and doing something, you can't find them.
Good point.
Okay. Anybody else? It is an open discussion.
I'll take a minute to advocate for standing committees being created. Okay. My thought would be you add council aides and they do the grunt work of the standing committees, and then you have maybe one or two councilmen preside over a periodic meeting so the public could come in and interact on whatever the subject is of that particular committee.
If that was the case, would we have to designate what those standing committees would be?
Oh, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, and
So what you're saying, so you're saying that as this work group, we should recommend that there be standing committees in the county council?
I'm saying we should consider it, definitely, yes.
Okay, that's very interesting, because what you're saying would definitely make a difference.
I think it would improve certain issues of customer service. If we go to increase pay, that may, be another justification for increasing the council's pay, and it would add more staff people to the council.
All right, so let me ask this question to you and you. All right, so part of the things we've been dealing with the entire time is staffing, right? It's one of the questions that we've dealt here. Is it within our purview to look at how staff is used?
No. I think that I would say the purview is limited to, does the current staffing level meet the need in general?
But not specific type of staff and functions of staff?
Yes. Because to be honest, as I think we've kind of alluded to before, the council members have, a set dollar figure that they can spread among their staff in the way that they so choose. And that is their prerogative to set their office that way. It could be something where, you think that, just the general level, like maybe that should be increased so that each council member could add more staff.
Like the pool you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, so the idea here is, so you can see where my brain's going, is like, when I go down to the U.S. Senate and talk to those staffers, there's professional staff that deals with committee stuff, and then there's personal staff, right?
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm going with this.
So the personal staff is that dollar figure that we're talking about. Committee staff, or the way to characterize that would be central staff. And again, that is,
At the state level, it's done through legislative services. They're the ones that do that. So in order to do that, I think the council would have to come up with, putting together a so-called legislative services for their council and dividing it in.
It's like bill drafting and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Well, that's different. You're talking about she's talking about, or he was talking about committees. You have, judiciary, you have ways and means, you have, so I think the council would have to come up with that solution and then put in legislation to get more money to bring more staff members in to staff those particular, as a subset to them, to help them out.
So, but my question is, that one of the things that if we decide to make a recommendation, that it's within a purview for us to make a recommendation on?
that's a really good question. I don't really think so.
What does all other relevant issues mean? Because that's there.
That's relevant.
I'm just asking a question. I mean,
It could be a recommendation.
Recommendation,
It's a
right?
recommendation.
Yeah, they don't have to take it.
That's right.
Standing committees do create more administrative work. And, I mean, Chris, as the council administrator,
Complaints about not being able to hear. I'm going to break out the other mic.
Chris, as the council administrator, would be able to tell you the best whether, you know, standing committees would create enough need for additional administrative staff. And as far as the legal work, Tom Bostwick is actually the one who could tell you whether,
Right.
you know, it would create more work, more legal work to hire an additional legislative drafter or council attorney.
No, but the issue is they have that catch-all phrase, everybody's seen in their PD and whatever, other relevant issues. And well, I guess it would be on our even, based on our experience, to say what those standing committees should be. Is it within the purview of our directive to recommend that the county council consider having standing committees?
well, let's hold on to that for a second, because I want to, and then, would you mind? Okay, go ahead, we'll do that.
Yeah, Eric, I have been thinking about that issue of committees all along the way, but not from the perspective of adding staff, that the adding of additional councilmen is the better approach to the issue of committees. I've worked for decades with the council, and I know some of the limitations that were affected by the fact that with so few council people, they could not truly divide all of their activities so you could develop a group who had an expertise. With the Spending Affordability Committee, there was the ability, okay, these are the ones who are going to have this expertise. But you don't have that when you have the few number of council members you have now. Adding council members would improve that opportunity. But to the question of, in this purview of this organization, of this work group, I don't think that it is, because it's something that the council is a prerogative totally of the council. You know, in terms of how, even the public really doesn't have a say in terms of how the council runs its business. And we definitely wouldn't have the ability to say what are those committees the council would have. I think that's stepping beyond what we are asked to do. You know, in terms of the council can consider it. And that's, I would say, as listing as one benefit of having additional council people is the opportunity to have an effective committee structure.
Yeah, the only reason why I mention it, because it is a gray area. You know, so since Adam mentioned, well, either you, Chris, or Mr. Bostwick, if you want to weigh on this issue. Would you like
you can't
to?
see me, but you can hear me now. Here's a perfect example. This work group. This has generated more responsibility for me. I'm kind of, you know, I not only have my council responsibilities with work sessions, legislative sessions, I've also tackled this one, but I've also done charter review and other things. If you have all these committees, I would say definitely yes, it would, and Tom would probably agree that it would be more work on the central staff, and there would be a possibility that we would need to add a couple staff people for that to accommodate. There's a lot of stuff that the central staff is responsible for that's kind of behind the scenes and people don't realize, you know, they think things just magically appear in files and, you know, we retain all records and things like that. That's all done through the central staff. There's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that people don't really know that we take care of. So yes, it would be additional responsibility for the central staff.
I have a question, since you're answering. If we expand the number of council seats, how is that going to affect the central staff?
We would have to, it could possibly put more responsibility on the central staff, and we may need to expand it by maybe 1 or 2 people also, just expanding the council itself. It depends. Things have really evolved over the years. I've been here since a long time. I'll just say that. Been here quite a long time. So I've seen many councils, and technology has really, changed things. It's changed the dynamic of the central staff. We don't do the same things that we did 20 years ago because of technology. So our jobs have kind of evolved into other things. We now have the internet, we have websites. So their jobs and their duties have evolved into other things over time. But I think increasing the council, we would maybe have to add a couple, definitely on Adam and Tom's end, for drafting legislation. I think that may be, and that Tom can weigh in on that. I don't know. They do a really good job with the 7 members, just the 2 of them, but I don't know if it would put more demand on them. And then the central staff, we may need to add 1 or 2 people. I don't know.
The one thing that I'd also add is that Chris is our HR department. So any increase in personnel, whether that's, only just, 2 or 4 council people, or, those council people and extra staff, the more personnel we add, the more HR burden on Chris and her department. So
Our staff handles all the hire, and once the HR does their job, but we, incoming members, incoming staff, badges, email accounts, things that you never think of. We take care of all that here at the central staff, so yes.
All right, I want to be cognizant of people's time, so let's do a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and coming back to the issue of, and those other issues, I don't think that was an open-ended invitation to delve into a whole lot of different areas. I think we need to be focused. But what it does address is there is a provision in the charter that says that we can dissolve our charter if a majority of the 7 members vote that way. Well, clearly, that's something that has to be changed, because if you change the number, then you're going to have to change that part of the charter as well. But there's also a part of the charter that says that there are 15 members on the planning board, 7 from each of the council members and 8 from the county executive. So, if we make the change, do we increase the number of council representatives on there to match it up, or leave it the same? Do you only do that in terms of the council side, or do you also do an adjustment on the executive side to maintain the balance of where it was almost 50-50? I mean, those are the other issues that I think that are in our purview that we need to address, because there are choices to be made with that in terms of, as I said, planning board. There's the
Like a police.
well, those are in the code. But the ones that are in the charter, there are 5, I think like 4 or 5 provisions that are in the charter that are contingent upon the idea there are 7 council members. So in terms of the issue of redistricting, I think it's a number related of 5, which doesn't match up to the number of 7 that we have right now. Is there the desire to increase it to, even if we don't increase it beyond 7, do we leave it at 5? Or do we match it up to 7? Or do we take it to whatever the other number is? So that's where I'm thinking, where it says, and other issues, relevant issues, because those are charter changes that need to occur the same time. If you make a charter change in the number, you need to make a charter change in those other areas. That is the related issues, not really an invitation to comment on things that are totally within the council's purview to change anytime they want.
Each one of those have to go in question? Each charter change?
Typically, yes.
Yes.
It might be lumped in a group, though.
Yeah, if it's all one.
General purposes in the same group, right?
If it's coming from the same issue, we expanded the county council, therefore we have to.
These other groups.
Because you couldn't not put the one that says number of people to terminate the county.
Okay, so good discussion, everybody. Really appreciate your input.
Excuse me.
No, not anymore. We're done.
No, I just wanted to know, does anyone feel as if we are moving towards something? I mean, do you feel that we are moving towards something, or are we still in the discussion stage?
I mean, I feel like, I feel like if Adam and Brad and staff are able to get us some kind of draft recommendation document to help herd us together, for lack of a better word. I mean, we definitely all have like a lot of thoughts, and we saw the survey. Some questions were really spread out, other questions there's a majority. I do think we need a little regrouping to see where we are, because obviously, I mean, we're at the end of January, and we're supposed to be making recommendations prior to the public hearing, right? So we do have to like move towards getting together all of our bullet points together. Is there any way we could get some kind of skeleton document together, or is that something we would do as a group? That's a good question.
That's a good question, but so here's my little thought process. I don't think we've really had a discussion about a real number yet.
Right.
Just the survey, we're all over the place.
Right.
I mean, we haven't had that discussion yet, and I think that one's going to be a little.
Because right now,
Well, it's very spread out, yeah.
Right now, from what I'm hearing, 13, maybe even 15 would be more appropriate.
No, only 113, only 113.
I know that, I mean, that's what I mean, because what I'm hearing is, it might not be enough. So I think we need to, start working towards what we're going to come up with a consensus.
Like bullet points, I think.
Well, I
consensus.
mean, when you look at this, there's 4 for 7, and there's a 6 for total of everybody else. I mean, that's obviously not a majority. Well, it's a majority, but it's not a super majority, or it's not something. And at the end of the day, and I said this before, the council needs to know where the vote is. I mean, not just we voted to change it to 13, because not everybody may agree with that. So they need to have a number, because eventually they have to vote on this. They're the final decision. So they need to know where this group ended up, 6-4, 7-3, 9-1, whatever. They need to know, I think, what that final number is, so they can have a true sense of where we came in at the end of the day.
And if whatever we decide on, some of the justifications, why for example, if there was some that said it needs to stay the same, so there was some that said it needs to increase. So if someone's saying we need to move from the status quo, what are the justifications? And some of the things we did identify was accessibility for constituents, decreasing that workload. There were different things. So, I mean, to start saying, am I starting to formulate where we should be coming? And I just want to know if the other group members are feeling you were starting to formulate in your head. Would you?
We don't have anything pen to paper yet, so I'm with you,
The council members, a copy of what we.
The council members have not seen this, the survey.
Do you think they should?
Well, the point of it was
for us.
Yeah.
I thought it was internal.
Well, now it's been communicated over the internet, so it's public information.
Yeah, that is true.
It's no longer internal. So here's a suggestion, because I think we need to kind of cut through the weeds here.
Yep.
And going along to Emily's point, maybe one of the things we can do on February 12th is to have that discussion of numbers and justification of what those numbers, because we've heard reasons why it should be maybe 7 or 9 or 11 seem to be the victory. Maybe we need to have that discussion and try to move to some kind of consensus about that. So that way the writers of this draft report can have an idea where we're going with this. Right.
Well, yeah, but weren't we saying that we wanted to try to have it to the public? I think, Jeff, you mentioned the 29th, right? So if we're only getting together and putting our bullet points together on the 12th, I mean, is that really fair for staff to put together that draft recommendation prior to the public hearing?
Well, the public hearing's on the 14th.
Of March, right. And he was saying he wanted to try to get it out to the public 2 weeks before that.
Yeah.
So, well, that's why I'm just working backwards. If we're only meeting on the 12th and just getting our bullet points together, is that going to give everyone, staff enough time to draft everything together?
The drafting of the report is downstream from your decisions. So in terms of the way you should prioritize things,
Yep.
prioritize your debate and decisions, and then Brad and I can handle the drafting to fit within the timeline we have. And if there becomes a problem, in the middle of that, we're going to be talking to you about it. We'll say, we don't think we can get it done. We need an extra whatever, day, week. But I just want you to have that as a priority. The priority is your decisions and deliberation.
Tony, should we possibly consider adding another meeting in February? I know no one likes it, but, we got to get it done.
I think the 2 meetings are fine.
Just a suggestion.
It's your opinion. I mean, I'm just the person with the microphone here.
So,
You're the majority of this work group.
so our next meeting, are we going to set as an objective to start? I don't know, what are the major decisions? I guess the major decisions is the number. We're talking about full-time, part-time. What else are we talking about? Is there anything else we're talking about?
Staff member, like maybe the pool that staff members have.
Staff pool. So we're talking about the number, full-time, part-time, staffing pools. Is there anything else we're talking about? We got to make a decision on?
I don't think so.
So
I don't think full-time, part-time is even an issue right now.
No, I'm talking about
According to this, I think people are okay either way.
what I'm saying is that those are the 3 major things we're going to make a decision on. And one of them might be closer to a consensus than the others. But the fact is, we need to identify which ones the decision has to be made on and say, okay, we got to make it because we're going to have to make it. I mean, so are there more than 3 things we considering?
I think one other change is related to when. That's why I put the question in there. When should, if there is a change based on.
So that's 4 things. So you're saying number, part-time, full-time, staffing change, and when? Those are 4 things that those are 4 things we have to make a decision on.
There was also the items I mentioned that are charter-specific issues that we need to comment on in terms of whether we believe by adding these positions, whether that would trigger other actions that are being needed by the council as well.
Right. So, because that will flow out of increasing the number. Right. Okay.
Down effect.
Yeah.
So we don't take any votes.
Can I make a motion
Motion for what, ma'am?
for adjournment and give us go?
Hold on there.
So we can go home and sleep on it.
No, you may not. So one housekeeping note about the public meetings. So the staff was able to, because we were virtual and we had like 8 or 10 people testifying, they were able to put all the things on the website, and I think it was a great job, and thank you very much, staff, for doing that. But if we have 50, 60 people in these public hearings, that's probably not going to happen. So just want to manage people's expectation about putting things on the website as far as public testimony at our public hearings if we have a lot of people that are going to be there, okay? They're already drafting a report. They're doing a lot of work behind the scenes and trying to scribe all that stuff happening real time. Just want to manage people's expectation about that.
Each person's going to get if they have that many people.
Oh, they're still going to have 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Because at the town halls, they're telling people you have 90 seconds.
We'll probably give them more than that, depending on how many people show up. I mean, I think we can play that by ear. Yeah, I mean, it could be, then It'll be short.
The budget town halls, yeah.
Okay, I think that's good.
Now not to
Any
make, now to make a
comments? Motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Emails, do we have a date and time?